you rolling? This whole time?
This whole time.
Good grief.
That's okay, there's no...
Stop and start it again.
Why?
Because I want it to be a good start.
Right. On that note, hello and welcome to Talking Lower League. We're going to be talking about the big SPFL Lower League kick-off, chatting about some of the key results that stood out for us over the weekend, looking ahead to this coming weekend across the SPFL and the West of Scotland leagues, and also Ali and I are going to be chatting about our experiences of getting back to the football at the weekend. Ali was at Maryhill, where I wish I was. I was at Broadwood to see Clyde Dumbarton, so I'm sure we'll get down to the nitty gritty of that as well. And to open this week's show, we're going to open up with something that is potentially could be quite detrimental to lower league clubs, so we'll see how that goes down. Anyway, but as ever, plenty to get through this week. Right, Ali. It's me and Ali this week.
Yes.
You okay with it? I put out a wee tweet earlier on, saying that it could get messy, and it's just me and you.
Yeah. Well, I like to have a witness in the room in case you try and strike me or lunge at me.
Obviously Ross can't be here this week due to having a life, but Ali and I have banded together to decide to just fire ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm worried because you're wearing a lovely leopard print t-shirt. That just makes me think that you think you're a wild animal. That has to be tamed.
Well, I mean, people know this already, that there's a lot of things that get edited out and things that don't get edited out on this podcast.
Yep.
And it seems to be that we're being hunted. So apologies for any of the helicopters, trains, transits that you hear on this week's show, because Ali and I are clearly being hunted. Right, see, before we get into talking about some of the kind of key games from the weekend, I wanted to have a wee chat to you about, you might think it might not be directly related to the lower leagues, but it could be, so I don't think we'll spend too much time on it, but this cinch stuff. So for a wee bit of background, if you've been living under a rock, as we're sitting watching a certain team in the background here, so the higher ups at Rangers seem to be complaining about the £8 million deal that the SPFL and Neil Doncaster have struck up with Cinch, a multi-year deal to sponsor the entire SPFL. You guys know it as well as we do. There was Cinch all over the place at the weekend when the league kicked off. I actually quite liked that kind of YouTube highlights packages and stuff like that. A couple of, Twitter friends of ours were rightly bringing that up and how the branding's a bit better, seems a bit more professional. And yeah, 1 week in, and one of the biggest clubs in the country is trying to sue them or whatever they're trying to do, obviously because they've got their own interests when it comes to cars and transport and whatnot at board level. Let's not delve in, to that side of things, but let's take a step back, and think about, how damaging could it be if the SPFL has to throw out or pull out of this deal for lower league clubs?
I want to get into the other side of it.
You want to get, well, let's start off with the lower league.
Okay. Well, obviously
we're talking lower league.
Obviously, the fact that the teams down the lower divisions rely a lot more heavily on sponsorship money than teams higher up in the divisions. I imagine that the difference of the deal being pulled out doesn't really affect Rangers or a Celtic or an Aberdeen's budget, but it would definitely affect the budget of teams like Albion Rovers, teams like Stranraer, etc. might feel that if that sponsorship money goes away, then you've already budgeted for the season, kind of based on that money being there.
Yep.
So yeah, it could have quite a kind of big effect for sure.
Obviously, it's kind of, we don't really know what's going to happen as well, but it's the last thing that the lower leagues need, and really the last thing that the SPFL needs is, after a lot of criticism, right criticism I think, with regards to the way that we sell our game and the sponsorship deals of the divisions, that obviously they managed to secure this big partnership with lowercase c Cinch, and having a little bit of a kind of plan for the future. I know obviously they've lined up kind of smaller deals with likes of Papa John's and stuff like that. Other pizza is available. So yeah, I just think the whole thing's a mess.
Yeah.
I know you want to touch on it, and we have to be wary of our audience.
I know. The only thing I want to say about it is the Rangers Football Club are in the football business, not the car business. End of story. End of story.
Yeah.
That's it. It's genuinely that simple. I don't think it's necessarily fair that individuals' interests are being played out in Scottish football. Rangers are in the football business, no the car business. That's all I wanted to say on it. In case there was any confusion.
No, I think our audience will appreciate that. It's also really unfortunate that we're not actually a Premiership podcast for this minute, because what a cracking title that would be.
Yeah.
I might try and do something with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, we've made our feelings clear on it. We think it's just a bit of a mess. It could become an even more of a mess, and let's hope that it doesn't impact the lower leagues, because the last thing that we need at the moment is more money being taken away from the clubs just when it looks like we're getting back on our feet. Also, I guess quickly in this very poorly constructed news section of the show, at the time of recording, obviously we're recording on the Tuesday this week, positive news with regards to going beyond level 0 when it comes to Scotland's COVID restrictions as well, which means that clubs don't have to ask any permission to have up to 5,000 supporters. So obviously from our perspective, I mean, that's brilliant news, isn't it?
Fantastic. I really, again, it's not necessarily a lower league thing, but I thought it was really nice seeing away fans back at the Hibs Motherwell game, and hopefully this returning this and these restrictions being lifted with no limit on people gathering in size, etc., will mean that we can have away fans back in the grounds as well. I find that the away fans are at times more important to the match day experience than home fans. It's all, without that kind of bit of banter and shouts between the two sets of supporters, something's a bit lost for me. Yeah,
no, I completely agree. And like I say, obviously from our point of view, from the level of games that we go to and stuff, that limit for the most part is ideal. So obviously I know we're going to talk about our kind of contrasting experiences of the games we were at the weekend as well, and I'm sure the number of people there and stuff will come up at that part of the show. Right, let's delve into some of the results from the opening weekend. I'm going to be a wee bit cheeky, I guess, and actually my game that I fancied in the Championship, it was actually from last night, Monday night, which was obviously the Ayrshire derby. I think it's the first time in 20 plus years that they've faced each other in domestic league action. It was at Rugby Park, obviously. Kelly running out 2-0 winners against Ayr. One of the reasons I wanted to bring this up as well is your point, Ali, about the away fans.
Yeah.
So obviously last night I thought the atmosphere at Rugby Park was brilliant.
Yeah.
I thought the coverage as well, obviously it was on BBC Scotland. If BBC Scotland want to get in touch with us, I'm sure we can have a conversation. No, but I genuinely thought that the coverage and the panel was brilliantly put together last night. I really liked that kind of combination of Jonathan Sutherland, Leanne Crichton and Chris Iwelumo. You know, they all know their stuff. You know, they're so invested in this level of football and the games and stuff like that as well. So that was really good. So the whole thing, watching it last night, was really enjoyable. The only thing that was missing was the Ayr fans, I felt, because for such a decent part of that game, even though Kelly, you know, deserved to win it, they dominated it for the most part. Ayr, you know, did do well for a lot of the game. You know, they did stifle Kelly a lot of the time. Granted, quite a lot of criticism around the way that maybe Hopkin approached the game. A lot of similarities, a lot of Morton fans coming on saying no surprises to see the type of football that he's playing. But I thought, particularly in the first half, I thought Kelly looked brilliant. You can exactly see what they're trying to do. You know, a podcast favourite from last year, Ewan Murray, I thought again was brilliant, really solid at the back. Obviously he moved from Dunfermline in the summer. From set pieces you can clearly see that he's been targeted by, yeah, I mean, the number of goals that he got last year for Dunfermline as well. So overall, I thought that Ayr were decent. I do think, as we said last week, I do think they will still struggle. I think that they look relatively solid, but they do need more of a cutting edge. I know they've just signed you know, a young striker on loan, that might...
Jonathan Afolabi.
Yeah, who was at Dundee last year,
Dundee last year on loan from Celtic. I don't think it's a loan deal, I believe it's a full-term transfer. I know he was released from Celtic.
Oh, really?
Jonathan Afolabi,
Is it?
yeah.
Well, I mean, you're hoping that he made an appearance last night, but you're hoping that, you know, he can actually get a run of games. I think that's the thing that he's been missing.
Yeah.
As well. And he could be the kind of spark in that Ayr side that kind of keeps them away from the bottom end. But no, and to be honest, it kind of just reiterated to me, especially after a few results at the weekend there. I know it's only week one, but I do think that Kelly will just be too strong over the piece. What about you?
I thought I was really impressed with Kelly. I thought I was actually quite surprised at how well the midfield played together.
Yeah.
Considering that it's a brand new midfield that's been put together, only Chris Buck being there from last year. I thought, again, like you say, Ayr, you know, they really stifled Kilmarnock, and that's not to be unexpected, like you say, given Hopkin, Jim Duffy's set-up. My only issue with that is, I think in a derby game you want two teams to kind of go for it, go hell for leather, and setting up to kind of not lose is always so risky in my book. I really despise when teams do it. You take a look at Scotland's Euro campaign, when you set up that way and you go down, it's so hard to get back into a game, because you've not got the shape, the personnel to change it up that much, and also the momentum's completely taken away from
That's what it felt like when Ayr conceded last night, I thought.
Absolutely. Big shout out to the Innes Canham, playing up top for Kilmarnock. He's been on loan quite a bit in the lower league, Alloa, etc. And this, for me, I thought he had a great performance last night.
Yep.
And this is why numerous times we've spoke about how important the loan market is, because Kilmarnock haven't been able to have time to develop this guy, send him down to the Championship, send him down to play in the lower leagues, gets that experience. Unfortunately, Kilmarnock now find themselves at a level that he's been operating at, and now you've got a ready-made striker to come in and kind of play.
Yep, exactly. And actually play enough that he gets used potentially to being the main man at Kilmarnock as well, and you know, if they do propel themselves straight back up to the Premiership, you're thinking that he could be a star there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought the way that he held the ball up last night, his movement, everything about it, his touch, his flick-ons, and obviously that penalty as well. Keeper was unlucky, but what a penalty. That is the perfect penalty.
Yeah.
And obviously he was the one that made it 2-0 and tied the game up.
Yes.
What other game? It's such a stupid question to ask. But we've done this last season. Remember, I'd be like, oh, it's a pure obvious game that you're going to pick it in. You'd be like, nah, the 0-0 between... so what game?
Well, it was going to be the Wraith Hamilton blockbuster. What an opening opening game of the season. What well worth the money for the fans in attendance at Starks Park. If you didn't see, Wraith Rovers were 4-0 up after 52 minutes, and at that point you're thinking there's no way back in it for Hamilton. However, I would be willing to hedge a bet that someone out there put like £1 on them.
I know.
To draw.
Ross Gray, considering that he's tipped him to go back up to the Premiership.
Hamilton put together a fantastic comeback. I was just having a look at it, double check my maths. They scored 4 goals in 24 minutes.
Hamilton aren't exactly a team that score a lot of goals either.
No, they are not. Wraith Rovers fans, Kieran McDonald scored 2 goals, and we've all heard this before when you talk about ex-players coming back to haunt teams. You don't expect your left back
to be the driving force.
To be the driving force and put you to the sword. 2 goals. Andy Ryan stepping up from Stirling Albion. In League 2, we always knew he was a guy who was playing way below his level. Looked very, very comfortable. In the game against Wraith, took his goal really well, and then the big centre half Want, 90 plus 2 minutes equaliser.
I think he's a product of the youth academy as well.
He is,
there was actually a really nice piece, not just to big up the BBC again, but at half time last night during the Kelly air games, a really nice piece about the importance of Hamilton's youth setup and things like that, and obviously showed highlights of the game from Saturday and stuff, and showing them into youth players that were in the squad, and you can clearly see what they're trying to do.
Hamilton only had 5 shots on target. Wraith Rovers had 7 shots on target. The XG's through the roof in this game, and according to Google, a 4-each draw where each team made 0 passes the whole game.
0 passes the whole game?
That's what it says, 0 passes, and that must be true because it's on the internet.
It must be true.
No, but in all seriousness, there was an absolutely fantastic goal scored by Wraith Rovers. Just a quick breakaway, big switch across the park, cut inside, had it for outside the box. It was shades of Arjen Robben with that goal.
There's so many things that you've said in the past minute or so.
Staggering. I'm in a good mood.
I can tell. You're on top form.
I'm in a good mood.
It was unbelievable, and it could well spearhead Hamilton's push towards the top end of the table towards this season. Obviously, it's looking like we mentioned it before that they're going to get a pretty decent windfall from the sale as well. I think about 300 grand or something like that of Odoffin.
I believe that's went through today.
So that could well be. There's no excuse for them not to bring in a couple of good players now potentially. Obviously, time's running out, but I'm sure they could definitely get a couple of deals across the line. And Ross Gray could well be sitting here laughing at us at the end of the season.
That's it. But the thing about Hamilton that really impressed me in this game is you often see teams come down and take a while to kind of find their footing, and given the kind of atmosphere around Hamilton for years now, being consistently in the relegation fight and pulling things out, and pulling the survival out the bag, it's not surprising to see them show that fight and show that character in this game, 4-0 down, to not give up. And that's got to be a huge boost for fans who have came to watch Hamilton or will be watching Hamilton this season, that their team is not giving up, they're going to fight, and they're showing that character this early in the season's remarkable.
Yeah, exactly. And it's clear to see that I don't think anybody's going to write them off at any point this season after the way that they opened the league campaign as well.
No.
Right, I think we should have a wee chat about League One.
Maybe we shouldn't poke the bell with that one. Poke the Roxy bell. Keep that down.
League One.
League One.
League One.
League One.
Difficult to pick a game here. A few cracking results here. The game that obviously I spoke about last week. I'm going to wait and talk about it at the end and compose myself as much as humanly possible. I am going to actually, my result from League One this week was actually Peterhead 2, Alloa 0.
So
or should I say Peterhead 2, Barry Ferguson's Alloa 0.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't really want to talk about them. Peterhead, again. We spoke about it last week. We were a wee bit annoyed about it. How many people tipped Peterhead to finish bottom and just do nothing again and stuff like that. I think people actually do forget that Peterhead, for quite a substantial chunk of last season, despite everything that was going on, were very impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive. Played some good stuff, were safe, no bother at all. And I think this season could well just be another good solid season for Peterhead, potentially even up to the playoff spots. It seemed as if their man of the match, Payne, from, not to be confused with Max Payne, was brilliant. And Alloa just looked, one shot on target. Peterhead, who yet again you probably don't say are, free goal scorers in League One. 14 shots in comparison to Alloa's 6. It just, I don't know. I don't want to be jumping on the Barry Ferguson's going to be sacked by Christmas train yet. But yeah, Peterhead 2, Alloa.
Yeah, no, I picked this game as well. Just for the reasons you say, we've got a long-standing friendly rivalry with our friends at the Blue Toon podcast.
Yep.
We have predicted Peterhead to finish below Clyde for seasons now.
Yep.
Back to back. This season, for whatever reason, people have picked up Peterhead to finish bottom. I think that's just
madness.
Pure hope. On behalf that they're hoping someone finishes bottom. That's not their team. Peterhead will be fine this season. They have, in my opinion, the best part-time midfielder in the country, in Scott Brown.
Scott Brown, yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic player. Simon Ferry, obviously, in the middle of the park as well. The
two of them have, over the last season or two, have struck up a really good partnership as well.
Yeah. I'm actually, Scott Brown's someone that I don't want to say I'm surprised still at Peterhead, because I like players to stick at the clubs they're at, but he's surely had offers from elsewhere, and he's stuck it out at Peterhead, which is fantastic for him. But what a fantastic player he is. I think in this game in particular, I feel like what we've seen here is an old master welcoming a young, maybe naive, inexperienced manager to League One. And Jim McInally has done absolutely everything right, and Alloa just were not able to get going under the Barry Ferguson regime on the opening day of the season. Whether that is going to be through the future, that's going to be signs to be seen, we're yet to see.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a great result for Alloa. Alloa was well unable to fill their bench.
I think that's maybe the first time that's ever happened in a Barry Ferguson team, and the amount of signings he makes.
Tell me about it. But I wouldn't read too much into it at this point if I was an Alloa fan. Like I say, I think it's just an old experienced team that's been at this level for a while, and with the most senior manager in Scottish football in terms of longevity, just
got the job done.
Got the job done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, Alloa is a very, very intriguing one though.
Yeah.
This season, so it's definitely one that we're going to keep an eye on. Since we both picked the same game, we should probably quickly go over another one. And for me, I want to actually have a big shout out to a side that yet again were probably written off a little bit before a ball was even kicked. Probably, I think, because so far they've only brought in 3-4 players. But yet again, that experience, that kind of longevity of the side, the management structure and everything at Montrose. Probably, as we've said before, big fans of what they do on and off the park. Going to Airdrieonians, who obviously were playoff finalists last year and tipped to do well again this year.
Yeah.
Going there and humbling them.
Yeah.
3-0. Yet again, I think, to be honest, an absolutely perfect. I don't think if you're a Montrose fan you could have walked away going, I don't think we could have had a better first game of the season. And on the flip side of that, if you're an Airdrie fan, you're thinking the absolute opposite.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. We've often said that we believe Arbroath to be 1A in terms of the best part-time team in Scotland. I think Montrose are 1B in that category. They operate so well within their area for recruitment. They always operate well. It seems at a board level. Their management team is absolutely spot on. They play very, very attractive football, very hard to defend against. You get stretched all the time with the pace and that they play with down wide and the overlaps. And I wasn't surprised to see Montrose get a result here. I was surprised at the size of the result.
Yeah.
For sure. Like we said last week, Ian Murray has to do something this season, and he's off to a bad start.
But it's that inconsistency argument coming in again though that we spoke about last week, and we've spoken about so much when it comes to Airdrieonians, and I think that's where, and Airdrie fans that are listening or watching this, tell us if you disagree or agree. That's just one of the big, if not the biggest bugbear of the Ian Murray reign so far, is just that inconsistency. When you think they're about to take off and finally go and cross that line, they just don't do it.
Yeah.
And yet again, this is just another example of that. So yeah, I do think the pressure, if we spoke about it as well previously, if we thought the pressure was on Ian Murray and Airdrie before, after Saturday's result it's just been cranked up big time.
Absolutely. And again, this has been another season where Airdrie have invested in players into the first team to try and improve and get going, and it's disappointing. And maybe like I'm sure we might go on to talk about, it's maybe a manager that's been at a club for a while and already some eyes are starting to roll a wee bit.
It's again very early days. It's always difficult talking about, I think, try to analyse the start of the season, because yet again you're always going to get things thrown at as like, oh well, we're only a couple of games in. I know, but this is the whole point of this. This is why we should be talking about it.
Yeah.
Because some of it might come true.
Ultimately, these games at the start of the season could mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah. No, I know.
Or with hindsight, in 5 or 6 games time,
it could mean everything.
Absolutely everything. So I think you've got to put equal weight to games that happen at the start of the season to games that happen towards the end of the season.
You do. I think you do. But yeah, no, I think that another entertaining week in League One, and moving on to another interesting opening week in League Two, Ali. I'm going to kick off with you first, if that's okay. When it comes to League Two, was there a particular result, or a particular team, or a performance that stood out for you?
Absolutely.
I think we're both going to go for the same game. I've got a funny feeling as well.
Of course we are. We spoke about them last week.
Yep.
Albion Rovers running out 2-0 winners against Edinburgh City. We spoke last week about how we felt Albion Rovers had improved so much last season, especially towards the tail end of the season, and really dragged themselves out of any danger that they were in. They have continued this form because they give a very good account of themselves in the League Cup. And opening day, to run out 2-0 winners against a team that everybody thinks is going to be up the top end of the league again, including ourselves. And that just goes to show that the difference of getting good managers, getting guys that are passionate about your team into the door to manage your football club, and you can exceed expectations by doing that.
Yeah, I think that this result just shows how far they have come under Brian Reid, because I remember when Brian Reid first came in, I liked, growing up obviously we knew Brian Reid primarily from his time at Ayr.
Yeah.
Like, I liked him as a manager. He was, that Ayr team was really good, and then obviously the Ian McCall years came in and it kind of preceded all that. But like the signings I think he's made over his time so far have been really impressive. None more so than bringing Declan Bryn back in at Albion Rovers as well, because I imagine he's somebody who probably had a lot of offers as well.
Yes.
Didn't quite work out at Stirling Albion, but I'm sure he would have had a lot of offers. He's went back there, he believes in the project, believes in the signings, and obviously in this game in particular as well, obviously there was a missed penalty in the last 15 minutes for Edinburgh that might have changed the course of it, but to be honest it seemed like a pretty dominant display by Albion Rovers, and pretty worrying for Edinburgh City. Do you know what I think? I remember on, obviously, because we've not plugged it enough, Ross and I were on Dr. Grant Campbell's podcast a couple of weeks ago, and we spoke about being a wee bit worried about Edinburgh City, and but I didn't expect this first weekend.
No, neither did I. But ultimately, I'm going to file this game under the it's not going to matter coming into the season.
Right.
It might matter for Albion Rovers, who knows? But for Edinburgh City, I think, rebuilding after a horrendous display in the playoff final against Dumbarton, new manager coming in with new ideas. There's an established team at Edinburgh. Some guys have been there a while. Uzi C, Danny Handlin, etc. New manager coming in, new ideas. Team trying to move in the one direction. Is it going to be potentially a transitional season for them?
Maybe. It might be just because it was so kind of Gary Naismith's reign last season was kind of so on and off, not really getting a proper run at it.
Yeah.
And obviously when they did get a proper run at it, they were on some run, and then obviously it kind of, the official term, the arse collapsed.
Yeah.
Ultimately, when it came to the playoffs, and that's happened to them before though.
Yeah.
So it's just about getting over that mental hurdle.
Yeah.
As well, because it's a big season.
Yeah. I think the Edinburgh City are under no illusions. I don't know what the word is.
I was about to come in and no, you're right.
I don't know. We can cut this out.
Does any of this matter?
Well, what I'm trying to say is like Edinburgh City will at this point are under no pressure whatsoever in terms of not finishing outside the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they'll be fine. They'll finish in the playoffs again. This is just a bad start. And ultimately they'll move on from here and they'll kick on, and they'll probably get a good high scoring win next week as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Right, Ali, I want to quickly talk about another game in League 2 just before we head over to the last part of the show, where both of us are going to be talking about the respective games that we were at the weekend, and just the good times that were had all round. Kelty Hearts, their first game in the SPFL, running out 2-0 winners over Cowdenbeath. It seemed to be that it was the Joe Cardo show for a lot of it. Pretty solid win against obviously a Cowdenbeath side that we and others, to be fair, throwing other people under the bus now for our straight predictions. A Cowdenbeath side that might struggle this season. Seemed like a pretty solid win, obviously against their Fife rivals, and yeah, I guess probably the perfect start to the season that Kevin Thompson would have wanted.
No, absolutely. We'll take this point to talk about the news that broke, I believe, after the podcast last week. I'd said that there was two maybe eyebrow raising signings in terms of, well, those guys have dropped to Kelty, and now our former Partick Thistle captain Tam O'Ware
yep,
has turned up
Big Thomas
at Kelty. What a signing that is. Obviously he's had his critics and he's had his moments at Partick, but again, a guy who I think could have found a team easily anywhere else in League One. He could have probably found another team in the Championship.
Probably, I would have said that, yeah.
What a fantastic bit of business that is, and that is adding players in the right positions, because at the heart of your defence you want a character like him about.
Yeah.
fantastic business.
Bit of a point to prove, probably. He probably feels he's got a bit of a point to prove.
Absolutely. Kyoto done really, really well here. Answered critics, I believe, in terms of now they're here where they want to be. Are they going to perform? Day one, pass marks for me. 2-0, great result. Like you say, Joe Cardo pulling the strings. They've got a really nice team here, really neat team. And see, Cowdenbeath, I don't know if they'll necessarily struggle this year. They might, but they've also, I mean, it's not like they're any mugs either. You know, Liam Buchanan, Bobby Barr, Kyle Hutton, Craig Barr, Craig
Good experience in them.
playing there as well. Fraser Mullen. These are all guys that have been playing at this level for a while. They're solid. They know what it takes to get the job done. I think this was a tougher test for Kilty than it maybe looked on paper.
Yeah, no, that's a good shout. And I would like to see a strong Cowdenbeath as well. Do you know what I mean? However, I still think that obviously I know Aaron's result at the weekend as well, but I do think with an ever improving Albion Rovers, I do think that with that might come a kind of battle at the bottom between Cowdenbeath and Aaron. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how that goes over the course of the season. Right, Ali, it's time to get into our very contrasting experiences at games at the weekend.
Yeah.
Right, where are we starting? Are we starting in Maryhill or are we starting in Cumbernauld? I don't know why I never thought that sentence would ever get said.
Preferably neither.
Well, we need to be careful though. We need to be careful criticising places because we could have our whole Twitter account taken down going by what had to happen to the Dumbarton tweet.
Yes.
Which is a mess.
Maybe that's a good place to start with.
Oh, you just want me to talk about the Clyde game?
I do, yeah.
Right, okay, we'll start at Broadwood.
What is the tweet that you're talking about?
So the tweet that I'm talking about is, I think it was pre-match on Saturday, building up to the massive fixture between Clyde and Dumbarton, to where the Dumbarton admin, I thought quite funnily, tweeted out, we're off to Cumbernauld today.
Yes.
And then it was, I think it was a GIF or something like that. I don't know whether it's the pressure of the camera. I now cannot remember what the...
I believe the picture of the GIF said, I guess some people like living in a hole.
That was it. Which we liked as an account.
Two guys from Cumbernauld.
I know.
I thought was funny.
It was funny. And it got a lot of good reaction and stuff like that as well. And then this person who claims to be a Clyde fan, I've never seen somebody more angry.
Yeah.
About something.
Yeah.
And they had to take it down.
Yeah.
They launched an official complaint. Shock that it's a Clyde fan. But yeah, so on to the actual game itself and the experience of being back there. That was the first time I'd obviously been at Broadwood since the last time we played Dumbarton, and we ran out 2-0 winners back in March 2020, which is wild to say that. Obviously, big shout out, I guess a lot of bias here to the Clyde Glasgow branch, obviously putting on a really kind of good day. The bus and seeing everybody again and things like that, it was brilliant, raising some money for the supporters club and things like that. A lot of exciting plans coming up to raise more funds as well. The negative thing was actually unfortunately having to go to the game. See, when it came to the actual, obviously first time we back at Broadwood, see the way that it was operated and things like that, I was quite lucky because it just was two big gates that were open. And you kind of done the contactless and you went up, and it was obviously Broadwood's plenty big enough to deal with the people, so it felt relatively normal. Yeah, I would say. There was a bit of a delay with a lot of people getting in. I don't know if it's just because of the kind of extra people, but it caused a bit of confusion. But thankfully, everybody got in usually a couple of minutes after kick-off. The game itself, I thought Clyde were an absolute embarrassment. Genuinely, I thought that it was atrocious. I thought Dumbarton outfought them, outthought them, don't know, outskilled them, out something, everything. I just thought that Dumbarton were everything that Clyde should and want to be. Now you need to remember that Dumbarton, I think it's about 16 or 17 new players this season. Obviously Jim Duffy, who'd been there for a good while, left. Stevie Farrell came in from Stranraer. Quite different characters in the way they want to play football.
Yeah.
Obviously Clyde, probably about 14, 15 players as well. So there's no excuse, I think, from a Clyde perspective. I thought Stevie Farrell set up his team perfectly. I thought that everybody knew their job. It was a good system they played. And it wasn't. This was no way, shape or form a smash and grab. It could have been more, to be honest with you. I think it could have been more. And there was nothing about that Clyde team. Genuinely, I'm not just saying this because you're a Clyde fan, I'm angry, etc. I've had a few days to think about it. I don't even get that angry about it anymore, to be honest. Kind of numb to it. But I can't even walk away and go, there's a couple of shoots of encouragement.
Yeah.
Even the experienced players that probably should have stepped up, your Conrad Ballatonis, your Magaro Gomez, who are usually over pre-season been the kind of decent players that Clyde had brought in, just weren't at the races at all.
I
thought Barry Cudahy as well. So
I think that's a bit harsh because Ballatoni did get in the score sheet.
It was some finish. Shame I was right in front of it and shame it was for Dumbarton. I have to say I thought Barry Cudahy was the player. Yet again, he's been at Clyde for a long time now. And when you get performances like this as a Clyde fan or supporter of any club in the lower leagues, there's always usually one player that stands out and does not deserve to be in that team that day because he has given his all and trying to make things happen. And unsurprisingly for Clyde, it was Barry Cudahy. I don't know how the happy clappers at Clyde are going to go over this one because there's no excuses for me, and I genuinely think that Clyde potentially will go down, and I do also think that Danny Lennon's credit is very quickly running out.
Obviously I wasn't at the game.
Just slightly jealous.
For personal reasons.
Which we'll go into.
And that I didn't want to. No, there were personal reasons. The staggering thing for me is that I believe Danny Lennon, after us saying last week, just play Rob Jones and David Goodwillie in a 2, is so obvious.
Oh, I forgot you. I blocked this at my head as well.
It's so obvious that they both need to play in a 2 and they both need each other. One of them's a target. Go for the classic big man, nippy wee guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's so simple. It's actually so simple that
Mm-hmm.
you can't believe that it's getting messed up. And after Danny Lennon talking about this cake he wants to make and how he wants different outcomes and different, I think he's still trying to fit square pegs in round holes.
Yep.
He wants to keep playing the shape he wants to play, and he's trying to fit players into it rather than playing the shape that the players he's signed are best to play.
Yep.
Moving David Goodwillie, who is probably the best striker in the league, and if not, he's in the conversation, to play, I believe he was playing
left wing
as an inside forward to make way for Rob Jones, is completely and utterly inexcusable. David Goodwillie is not a left winger. He is a natural goal scorer, especially at this level.
In the top 10 goal scorers of all time for Clyde Football Club.
If he has a season like he had last season, he will then move up to number 9 in that ranking. So to move him out of the way, out in the wing, to make way for someone who scored 1 goal all of last season in this league, in Rob Jones, who again I think has a part to play at Clyde, it's just completely and utterly inexcusable. It seems to me personally that the big issue with Danny Lennon's recruitment, and I know we spoke about it last week, but there was nothing from what I've heard and seen of the game there's very little positives to take away from it. The
Yeah.
tactics are wrong, the personnel are wrong. Clyde currently at the moment have three centre backs at the club. One of them's in a moon boot for the next 12 weeks. It is going to be a long, hard season, and if you're losing, and like we said last week, these two teams should be looking at each other every single week. How did Dumbarton get on this week? How are Clyde doing? And that might not even be the case. Dumbarton head and shoulders above Clyde on the day, and how we were saying how come the end of the season these games can mean a lot. The games against Dumbarton this season are going to mean quite a lot for Clyde, and I think that they have absolutely, utterly botched match week 1.
Yeah, no, I think I have. I'm a massive fan, obviously, of everything that Danny Lennon's done for Clyde Football Club, for the supporters. I think he's a brilliant man as well, a good manager. He did not once come out of his dugout on Saturday. This has been commented on at the back end of last season. I don't want to be conspiracy theorist or anything, but his whole body language looks as if I think he knows that I'm not sure how far he can take Clyde anymore, due to loads of different circumstances I may want to add.
Yeah.
Danny Lennon is not at fault for what has gone on at this football club, but he does have to take some responsibility, and he just looks as if he has given up. That's what it looked like on Saturday. He looked as if he'd ran out of answers, ran out of ideas, and he knew that it was going to be a long season.
I think Danny Lennon needs to take responsibility for a large chunk of it. You can argue all you want about budget, small budgets, whatever. The budget is apparently up from last year. When you operate in the lower leagues of Scotland and you've got a small budget or a lower budget or whatever compared to everyone else, you have to use it wisely.
Mm-hmm.
And that means getting the absolute bang for your buck. And if you're bringing in 10, 11, 12 players, you need at least 60% of them to be of a standard. And Danny Lennon's recruitment in that regards for the past 3 seasons it's not been there.
Nothing's changed. Sorry, I was just going to come in there. And nothing seems to have changed with regards to the fact that the club are now paying a recruitment team.
Yeah.
As well.
A recruitment team that when people who are members of the club have asked to justify their wages, it has been left completely in the blank, because it just seems that all that they do is phone Celtic or phone St Mirren or phone Rangers and ask for any players you're willing to throw our way. And it's, to be honest, that is absolutely nowhere near good enough. There's guys I know that have been watching this league for years that could have done a better job than that.
Yeah.
And no players out there. It was obvious to everyone that the recruitment this year wasn't good enough. There was a day Clyde released 5, I believe, signings, and every single one of them you were like, it can't get worse, it can't get worse, it can't get worse. And it got worse. Yeah.
Yeah, again, we don't want to make it. I think we'll probably get less and less Clyde heavy as the season goes on, to be honest. But obviously, it's just been, fingers crossed. But yeah, a lot of things need to change. Just top to bottom, unfortunately. So that was my Saturday. How was yours?
Mine was really good. I went for the second week in a row.
Yep.
I went to go and see Maryhill. It was a fantastic game of football. Really, really, really good. Lovely setup at Maryhill.
Well, I was going to ask you, what's the kind of, talk us through, obviously we're big West of Scotland League fans. It's looking like a bit of West of Scotland League game, all of us, this weekend, for example, whether it's the same one or scattered. So talk us through when you get to the ground and stuff like that. Let's say I've never been to Maryhill, what's the experience like?
So, public transport, really easy to get to. You can get the train to Maryhill train station. Then you're maybe a 10-15 minute walk. Numerous buses, the number 60 for example, going up Maryhill Road, stopping right outside the ground. If you're driving by car, plenty of spaces to park. There's the big Tesco with a big multi-storey car park over the road. it's a weird ground to get into because you have to go up like a wee alleyway and then go up these really steep stairs and then there's the ground. When you get there, the setup is it was £5 or £6 to get in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I think it was £6 to get in. And the setup at Maryhill was really interesting. It was the first time I'd been last week, and I immediately wanted to go back. So you come in, and then it's like a platform around.
Mm-hmm.
So there's viewing, standing, viewing. As soon as you come in behind the goals, viewing, standing, viewing section, running along the touchline. There's a stand behind the goals that is like kind of bench seats, like kind of single seats, and what looks like what I've called the garden stand because it's been kind of put into like lots of trees. And
I've seen.
There's like bushes and stuff around. It actually looks like a really nice place to sit. The ground is the kind of viewing areas. You look kind of down on the ground. There's maybe about an 8 foot, 9 foot wall around the park, and it really adds to the football because the ball's not lost for a while going out of play. It's just off the wall.
The game's kind of
players
quick,
get the
quick,
ball.
quick,
It's played quite quick. I don't know if you should play quick in the pitch because the pitch is the worst thing about the setup at Maryhill for certain. And there was, I've not seen this in years. There was a point where a divot get taken out of the ground and the referee stopped the game and went and got a bucket of sand and just pulled it in and filled in the divot that way. It was mental. Got in fantastic experience. There's not really a bad place to view the park. I would say there was more than 50, less than 100 people there.
Right.
I had an all-day breakfast pie.
Right, well, you've went straight for the jugular, right, because Maryhill rightly are getting some amount of kind of publicity and popularity on social media for the photos of these all-day breakfast pies that you're getting. They seem to sell out all the time at the game. You've had it twice now.
Yeah.
Do you get emotional eating it? We've talked a lot about emotions this season, but
they're incredible. Just something a bit different. Don't get me wrong, that some people might think they look disgusting, but they're really, really nice. Like you touched upon, you have to put your order in on Facebook. They'll put up a post saying how many people might want a breakfast pie this week, and then you have to kind of be like, I might want one, so they make sure they've got enough. It was really nice. $2.20. I would actually put it in my top 5 food being sold at football grounds at the moment.
Oofed. No wonder you want to go back.
Not quite as good as a Ochilview soup.
Yeah, of course. That's your number one.
Or an Alloa Stovies or a Forfar Brady.
Yeah,
but it's up there.
Seems to tick every box.
I'll finish the top 5. The other one is the black pudding and chorizo pie at Arbroath.
Oh yeah, Arbroath.
Because they don't have smokies in the ground.
No. There's a cracking chippy though. We go to Arbroath.
The Lighthouse.
I
believe it's called.
Yep, which is great.
Yeah. In terms of the quality of the game on show, the game was Maryhill versus Craigmark Buntonians. A couple of kind of known faces there. David Smith, formerly of Stranraer and Dumbarton, playing at right back for Craigmark Buntonian. He is a big boy still. Craigmark set up really interesting. The two fullbacks must be about 6'3", 6'4", and they don't as much overlap the midfielders as they do just take the ball clean off them and just bundle their way through everyone in their way. They played really, really nice football at times. Despite winning 3-1, I would argue that Craigmark were a wee tiny bit lightweight up front and maybe one signing away there from making a big push in the West of Scotland Conference. Maryhill, on the other hand, they went up after 15 seconds. Craigmark kicked off. The ball, they lost possession, went straight up the park, ball across the goal. Jed Dobbs tapped it in. I would actually say, in terms of the quality that I was talking about, if Craigmark had Jed Dobbs from Maryhill playing for them, I think they're really talking about pushing.
They would have ran out even bigger winners. That didn't seem to put off Craigmark Buntonians, but for obviously that kind of early setback.
Exactly, and Craigmark wanted to play quick on the ground. moved the ball about well, switched it to the play. Like I say, these fullback, I can't get over the size of these guys, like just brutes, but they really need
done their
tidy
jobs
with the ball at their feet. Mary Hill, on the other hand, it seemed like at times they seemed like blinkered horses, where it was just the only way the ball can possibly move is forward.
Aye.
Don't think about putting it back,
Aye.
don't think about switching it, it's just forward, get the ball up top. And because of that merge of styles, it was a really, really nice game. Unfortunately, the game was kind of lost to Mary Hill because they made all their subs, and then Jed Dobbs got injured and he had to go off the park, so they were down to 10 men. Talking of subs, I heard a rumour about the Clyde game. Can you quickly confirm this for me?
Right.
Did Clyde make 3 subs and then Danny Lennon tried to put another 2 subs on, believing that it's still the 5 sub rule from last season?
I can't confirm or deny this because I don't remember seeing it.
I have seen lots of people tell me this, but
Right, well, if you've had lots of people telling you about the Clyde game, then I might have just missed it, or I might have been away by this point.
That's really worrying.
Because that's, by the way, only the second time, right? Only the second time in, nearly 20 years that I've left a Clyde game early.
Yeah.
The other time was when we were getting absolutely humped to Ibrox, and I left just after half time.
Yeah.
I left with 10 minutes to go on Saturday when the third goal went in.
I once left a Clyde game under John Brown because we were 3-0 down to East Fife after 20 minutes. I just left it at 20 minutes. What's the point?
Up the road.
That's it.
Very contrasting Saturdays, Ali, but
It was.
I'm looking forward to going to Maryhill.
It's lovely. It's a great
I'm
time.
looking forward to it.
There's a wee bar, stays open during the game so you can get a pint, and they serve it in glass as well, which was really funny because a boy would get pung with a free kick and smashed his pint everywhere. So
That would have been me, let's be honest.
that's it.
No, definitely looking forward to going to Maryhill, and obviously more West of Scotland League grounds as the season goes on. We're going to try and tick as many off as possible, all 3 of us.
Well, this week, I'm going to try and go to St Roch's versus Larkhall tomorrow night. Where I might get a bit scared to go to that one. I might pull out at the last minute. And I will 100% be going to Glasgow Perthshire versus Drumchapel United at the weekend.
At the weekend, yeah, and there's a chance, because Ross and I are both in Cumbernauld on Saturday, is that we'll be going to Cumbernauld United against Darvel as well. So there could be a chance that 3 of us all get to different games, and then next week we can actually go through it all.
Absolutely.
Which should be quite good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, again, but there's also could be a chance that I could end up at Glasgow Perthshire. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
But that's the fun of it.
That's it. Personally, I want to see Darian McKinnon play in a weird park at Postle Park. I think that's fun.
I think that is fun.
It's not a weird. It's just it's just very different to where you would expect to see him.
Exactly. But no, brilliant, Ali. Thanks very much, and thanks very much for this week. The 2 of us thought it was alright.
I thought it was really good.
Looking forward to the next time we can all 3 of us can go to Maryhill, and not to Broadwood. No, thanks very much. I don't think there was much hatred or fighting.
No, because
Sorry, am I keeping you?
that's the energy that Ross brings.
That is energy. Is that him
Apart from just there,
is that him
your true colours showed there.
Is that him texting you the now?
Or wild animal, is it?
It's not, is it? And if it is, I don't want to see it. Okay, let's leave it. Right, everybody. Thanks very much, as ever, for all your feedback and your questions. We try and incorporate as much as we can into the episodes, and all your support as well. Like I say, it's early days this season, trying new things out. So any feedback is appreciated. Obviously, head over to our social media channels at TB Lower League on Twitter and Talking Lower League on Instagram.
Got a question for you. Are we bringing back the Reddit Q&A?
Yeah, I've been posting on Reddit.
Sorry, that's a message from Ross. He says, are you not going to preview the games for next week? Are you going to bring back the Reddit Q&A though?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Reddit Q&A is coming back. We've been
Excellent.
slowly but surely getting back.
That's it.
Posting on the Reddit. So any Reddit watchers or listeners out there, send your questions, send your subject matter that you want us to talk about.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, thanks very much. And it would really, really help us if you leave a like and subscribe. We're going to put as many videos up there as possible. yet again, maybe some wee clips from games and stuff when we're at games and things like that as well. Like I say, we're going to try loads of stuff out. So yeah, that's what's happening. Ali, thank you very much. Thanks to everybody, and we'll see you all next week. Talking Lower League after dark. No, kidding on. This is a little bit of an extra for everybody. Hi. Right, so you've probably watched the Ali and I special from this week. If you haven't, please go and watch it or listen to it. That'd be nice. But as promised, because you weren't here in week 1, you shat out of it. No, I'm kidding on. This is from me and Ross. So we have to firstly ask your predictions. So
Okay.
who's going to win the championship,
Okay.
League 1, League 2, and who's going to go down.
Okay.
And then once you tell me that,
Mhm.
I will then tell you, if you are bottom of the list between me and Ross, I will then tell you what your punishment will be at the end of the season.
Okay.
Right, so you need to tell me what you think.
Right. Okay. Are you going to ask me the questions?
Who's going to win the championship?
Kilmarnock.
Who's going down from the championship?
Morton.
Who's winning League 1?
Go Rangers.
Who is going down from League 1?
Clyde.
Who's going up from League 2?
QA.
And who is going to finish bottom of League 2?
Annan.
There we go. I love how efficient it is. Very good guesses. A lot of kind of similarities between Ross and I.
I didn't watch yours and Ross's doing one. I wanted to go into this.
Go into it blind,
Yeah.
not just because you don't like watching us when you're not here.
Yes, sir.
Right, so do you want to know your punishment?
Absolutely.
Right, okay. So if you finish bottom of the table this season,
You have to get a Clyde season ticket. No.
that's, I wouldn't wish that in my worst enemy. You have to do a YouTube live
Okay.
video.
Okay.
It can be here, you can sit in your comfy chair, you can have your juice, whatever.
Yeah.
And you have to read a full chapter from the smash hit best-selling book 50 Shades of Grey.
Okay.
And we will let our audience member decide which chapter. We'll give them some options.
Okay. That's fine.
And that's what you have to do. You'll do it live on the Talking Lower League YouTube.
Mhm.
We'll make sure it's across all social media, and you have to sit and read out a chapter from 50 Shades of Grey.
No, that's fine with me.
Fine with that?
That's fine with me. That's
If anything, you look as if you're kind of looking forward to it. You kind of hope
I've
you're.
already got one favourite chapters, so it should be quite easy.
You know off by heart.
That's, I can do it now if you want.
Well, maybe we'll turn the camera off first.
Okay, that sounds good.
And on that note, there we go. Finally, we've got all 3 of our predictions and all 3 of our punishments are lined up. It's going to be an interesting season, and yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to see how it pans out. See you later.